debates put on by the GSTA, which is the Taxpayers Association of the City of Sudbury. My name is Grant Dinan, and I'm a board member of the Taxpayers Association. You also see Mary Trebb in the middle, who is a member of the board for the GSTA, and Lester Neen, which is right back here. He's a board member as well. And we're putting on a series of 12 debates over the next little while, where I believe this is number 7. These are all volunteer debates put on by our volunteer organization to give a platform for the candidates to actually answer 5 questions that we've selected in a very regulated manner. These board members have worked hard to organize a professional, structured setting for the taxpayer to have a chance to meet and learn about the people who want to represent you for the next 4 years. We feel an informed voter is the best way to ensure our great city can move forward in a fiscally prudent, accountable, transparent, and positive manner. Please listen carefully and feel free to submit your questions to Mary, Lester, myself to forward to the monitor. These questions will actually be in written form, and there's a table at the front that does have blank forms if you want to obtain one, and then just find one of us during the debate and we will have a look at them and give them to the monitor. We'd like you to enjoy your evening, and first I'd like to introduce a little bit of housekeeping before we introduce the monitor. Sorry. Can everyone hear me back there? Yeah. Too loud or? I don't get that a lot. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Cell phones, we ask you to turn them off, please. We don't want the candidates interrupted in mid-sentence. The red tags that you see on the candidates identify the candidates. The blue tags identify the GSTA members, which there's 3 of us here tonight. The event is videotaped and will be uploaded to our website, GSTA. So please be careful with the expensive equipment and the focus of the cameras, because you might also be on YouTube in a big way that you may not want to. The washrooms are located back here, and there's 2 ways to get there, one at the back, one at the front, so feel free to use those. There will be a break as well halfway through the event. At this time, I'd like to introduce Claude Lacroix. Many of you in this room know Claude. He's going to be our monitor for this evening. Just to tell you a little bit about Claude, and I'm going to read a lot of this. We should be finished in about 20 minutes. Claude's background: he's a lifelong Sudburian and graduated from Laurentian University. Returned home after graduating from the Faculty of Law, University of Moncton, province of New Brunswick. He is currently a partner at Lacroix Lawyers Advocates and is fluently bilingual. He practices in the area of civil litigation, corporate commercial disputes, construction law, health and safety, compliance, real estate, commercial liability, and has developed a special interest in providing legal service and advice to mining, civil, and mechanical contractors. He was called to the bar in 1998. Claude actively participates, contributes on a number of community boards, not-for-profit agencies, and professional organizations. Claude is currently chair of the Executive Committee of the Laurentian University Board of Governors, is the past president of the Laurentian University Alumni Association, and past president of the Sudbury District Law Association. In addition, Claude is the former vice chair of the Greater Sudbury Development Corporation and is the past president of the Sudbury Airport Community Development Corporation. He is a past legal panel member of the Canada Pension Plans Appeals Review Tribunal and is the past president of the Association of French-Speaking Lawyers of Ontario. Over the past several years, Claude has also been the bar representative and mentor for secondary school students as they compete in the local mock trial competitions. Please welcome Claude Lacroix. I'd also at this time like to introduce the candidates in no particular order. First one is Michael Cullen. Just raise your hand, Mike. Jerry Paris, Stefano Prezanza, Carrie Latham, and Al Sizer currently is actually at a council meeting for the city, and he will be attending later on in the program. So without further ado, I'll ask Claude to introduce the format and start the process.
Thank you very much. First off, this is an incredibly important process, and one of the opportunities that sometimes we don't often get to be able to have an open format information session with a view to ensuring that you exercise your voting franchise as an informed basis as possible. The format is pretty straightforward. We have 5 prepared questions that the candidates have had. There'll be an opportunity from the floor to generate questions that will be vetted by the Greater Sudbury Taxpayers Association. What do we need? We need good information, we need good robust responses, we need respect between the candidates to make sure that they all have an opportunity to respond, and an opportunity for the audience to make sure that they can hear and understand what your platforms are. The openings will be 2 minutes, the closings will be 2 minutes, the answers to the questions will be 2 minutes. In the event we have time, and if the discussion is lively and fully engaged, we will try and encourage some rebuttals so that we have as much information that's exchanged as possible. We'll have a bit of a reverse order on the questions, so if it seems a bit disjointed, it could be that I completely misunderstood the instructions, but the idea will be you'll still have the same amount of time as everybody else. You heard that Mr. Sizer was at a council meeting. He'll be joining us later, and we'll have the benefit of his answers to those questions at that time. In terms of process for the written questions, I think the 3 members of the GSTA will be available to take those throughout and at the break. We also have, for the purposes of the candidates, the 2 flags. Yellow is 30 seconds.
Left.
Left?
30 seconds left.
30 seconds left. And red is, we're pulling the plug. Understand that we won't and we don't have an interest in stopping you in mid-sentence, but in order for everybody to have an opportunity, we have a number of candidates, try and stick to your timeline so that I don't have to lay down the law for that. Okay? Welcome, thanks again, and we look forward to a great debate. Okay, we'll start with the first question. So these advanced debate questions have been generated by the Greater Sudbury Taxpayers Association. First question, what would you do to attract business and development to the city of Greater Sudbury? Mr. Cullen?
Aren't we missing the opening remarks?
Oh yes, forgive me, go ahead. Mr. Cullen, go ahead.
Question over. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Merci beaucoup. Thank you for coming and welcome to NORCAP. This selection process is about finding the best qualified candidate to represent our friends and neighbours in Ward 8. I stand before you tonight not just as a candidate whose name you will see on the October 27th ballot, but as a committed community leader with a very broad depth of experience and a proven track record of accomplishments. I truly believe that what is needed for this term of council is a leader that is passionate about serving others, a visionary, a councillor that has the ability to connect all of you with the proactive culture of developing innovative solutions to the concerns of the day. My early career as a hospitality executive, working within a very strong corporate culture for over 20 years, has provided me with the passion for service that I truly believe will provide all of us with a full service experience with respect to getting things done, from idea incubation to effective follow-through. My career since then has evolved, serving the community with my work in the nonprofit charitable sector. Early on, being responsible for large format programs that provided underprivileged children with opportunities for leisure programs combined with servicing dozens of breakfast programs to our city schools. Alongside my career ambitions, I've always had a keen private interest in business and can bring many personal experiences of private sector startups, collaborative projects, and an appreciation for what it means to put it all on the line when it comes to owning and operating a for-profit business venture. In my current role as Executive Director of the United Way, I have the pleasure of working with thousands of passionate volunteers, not just with United Way, but with dozens of organizations, from mainstream arts and culture groups to social service programs. I've been responsible for and lead dozens of community initiatives over the past 10 years, including but certainly not limited to raising and administering nearly $20 million in funds back to our community. With my community-based work, I'm very confident that my personal and professional relationships with the fine city staff will be a definite asset for the next 4 years. In addition to my practical experiences, combined with my proven track record, I also bring a very thorough understanding of board governance and how a consensus-based model to solutions is the only way to achieve outcomes. Is that done? Thank you.
Mr. Latham?
Good evening. My name is Kerry Latham, and I am running to serve the citizens of Ward 8. As your councillor, I will be fiscally prudent and will do the right thing, taking into consideration current priorities, quality of life issues, and the impact it will have on future generations. I've been married for over 37 years to Joyce and have 2 married daughters and 1 grandson. Since moving to Sudbury, I have lived at the same address in Ward 8 for over 26 years. I feel I am qualified to serve as your councillor as I have a varied work experience, which includes the mining industry, banking, and over 30 years in the federal government. During my time with the federal government, I have functioned in a number of positions, acting assignments, and served on numerous boards, committees, internally and externally. My experience in the federal government has included working with various levels of government, from federal, provincial, municipal, First Nations, and the private sector. The range of issues dealt with funding and concerns related to economic development, education, infrastructure projects such as roads, schools, water treatment plants, fire protection, social services, and health and safety issues. One of my strongest assets is that I work well with individual groups as a team player or can work independently with the overall goal of getting the task done in a timely and efficient manner. Thank you.
Monsieur Perras?
Good evening, bonsoir. Dans un premier temps, j'aimerais vous remercier de m'avoir donné l'opportunité de vous faire parvenir ces quelques mots. My name is Gerald Perra, and I've been living in Sudbury for 25 years. For the last 10 years, I've been building a successful pallet recycling company from scratch. I graduated from Algonquin College in Business Administration 33 years ago. I've been in business all my life and have some community experience from my school days. I have a good understanding of how council works. We should be looking at increasing our tax base instead of increasing our taxes. Increasing permit costs has made it impossible for new housing to grow our tax base and has resulted in very little growth in our economy. We urgently need to change the way our road construction is handled. All road construction needs to be done with as little impediment to traffic as possible. The specifications need to be brought up a notch, and better monitoring desperately needs to be done if we are to save taxpayers' money. Planning so that the newly paved surfaces are not dug up the minute the contract is finished is a must. Deceitful behavior needs to be brought to light and investigated. Fines and dismissal should be the norm to remind everyone who's in charge. Transparency is a must. Everyone from councillor to contractors, including city staff, have to be accountable for their actions. Evaluating all city work in man hours will give us a better idea of the cost, from changing a catch basin to the amount of hours it takes to set a hydro pole. Council needs to know how many man hours any job will take. We should also reward city personnel that bring forward ideas that would save our city some money. Sudbury needs to be run more like a business than a committee. The status quo no longer is good enough. This council needs more business people like me that are trustworthy and honest. People that are not afraid to stand up for what they believe in. You can learn more about me and my campaign at jerryperra.com. All your concerns will be addressed. Votez Gérald Perra pour un pas dans la bonne direction.
Mr. Presenza?
So. Hello everyone, my name is Stefano Presenza and I'm working hard on my campaign here in Ward 8 to earn your respect and your vote. As a lifelong resident of New Sudbury, it would be my greatest honor to be your councillor and continue to beautify the area. In a nutshell, I work in healthcare sales, I'm a certified paramedic, and I'm a performing magician. And God knows we need a lot more magic at City Hall. My priorities for the ward include getting Mealy Drive done. This will create jobs and develop infrastructure. Playground development. Let's get more splash pads in the area, maybe some skate parks, investing in our kids, and let's build upon Fabio Belli's idea to develop New Sudbury Days and bring back that sense of community. Improve safety. Let's develop trails and pathways for cyclists and avid walkers, and let's take care of those bears. My city priorities include continued development for cultural events such as Ribfest, the Garlic Festival, and Summerfest. Let's bring that back. Protecting our lakes. Let's develop that new Northern Water Sports Center, but that's our drinking water, so let's maintain it sustainable. Let's improve public transit and the handy transit, and above all, let's ensure integrity, accountability, and transparency. This October, vote for a proud resident of Ward 8. Vote for Stefano Presenza. Grazie.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the advanced debate questions. Again, what would you do to attract business and development to the city of Greater Sudbury? Mr. Latham.
What I would do to attract business and development to the greater city of Sudbury, I would introduce a two-stage approach. The first stage would take 4 to 6 months and would consist of the following: putting our house in order by examining what we are currently doing and how we can cut out the red tape and duplication. This may require the amalgamation of departments involved in issuing building permits to cut the current time it takes for approval for all the different departments. Service standards would be established on approval times. We need to review the rationale for the various costs being charged to developers and individual businesses. We need to be competitive with other cities and towns in the area and factor in the economic spin-offs. For example, a new business moving to Sudbury, coming to town that creates 25 jobs would increase revenues for the city in property taxes and other economic spin-offs for various businesses. The second stage would be announcing to the world that Sudbury is open for business. This would include the establishment of something like a trade mission that would include Sudbury's elite in business, education, medical, municipal, mining, provincial, and federal dignitaries. The sole purpose of this group would be to promote Sudbury and all it has to offer with its innovative industries, talented workforce, and that Sudbury is a great place to live and raise your family. Thank you. I have a couple of minutes, I think, so I just wanted to add something from some of the information sessions I've been attending. And for you that don't know, that Sudbury developmental fees are twice as expensive as the surrounding areas like North Bay and Sault Ste. Marie. So we are losing business to those communities, and we need to make improvements on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Latham. Monsieur Perra?
My answer is going to be short and sweet and loud. To attract business and development to our city, I would first develop all existing industrial parks by providing good access to properly serviced lots. Second, I would give new businesses hiring more than 3 employees a special hydro rate for 2 years to help them recover the cost of new construction. Thirdly, I would abolish residential construction building permit fees to create jobs and help with the economy. And fourth, I would ensure that all new business applications are processed quickly without any red tape barriers and dealt with in a facilitating way. Merci. Thank you.
Mr. Presenza?
I have had the opportunity to travel across Canada, and I've seen other cities with great developments thrive. Whether it's Victoria, BC, or Moncton, New Brunswick, all with populations considerably smaller than Sudbury, around 70,000 people. We have the potential to be a great city. What we need is to reduce red tape and expedite projects, all of course without compromising quality and safety. We need to develop projects with multiplier effects, with benefits for jobs and business growth. There are many options, including public-private partnerships with provincial and federal government levels to develop recreational, cultural, and sports facilities. A new arena would encourage sports and concerts. A business convention center would develop tourism, research, art, and centers for performance. We can also take advantage of already existing projects such as AMRIC, the Affiliated Research Institute of Health Sciences North, and assist growth in areas such as cancer, infectious disease, chronic diseases, and seniors' health. Above all, we need to secure the Ring of Fire project here in Sudbury. No doubt this will provide great economic development, and we must work together to ensure an open and transparent dialogue with Cliffs to ensure that the needs of all parties are clearly understood. This is an exciting time for Sudbury as big things are coming, and I hope to play a direct role representing New Sudbury, following in the footsteps of the late and great Fabio Belli. Thank you.
Mr. Cullen?
Thank you, Claude. I'm going to just talk about a bit of personal experience here. When I was in the hospitality industry, I worked with Sudbury Tourism on what was known as Savor Sudbury. And I have some first-hand experience, and I'm very proud of that, with respect to tourism, developing Sudbury, branding Sudbury with respect to the broader picture. And I agree with Stefano's remarks about partnerships moving Sudbury forward. But I truly believe that the heart of how we promote Sudbury and how we sell Sudbury and what would make Sudbury more attractive is right in the heart of the Greater Sudbury Development Corporation. I've been there firsthand. I personally funded initiatives through the Greater Sudbury Development Corporation. I really, truly believe that that arm of the city, the truly Economic Development Corporation, could do a much better job looking at avenues such as private-public partnerships to advance our infrastructure. When I go door to door in the ward, I'm hearing about the lack of services, and it's mostly about infrastructure. Ward 8 particularly is a neighborhood in need. And when I hear that the closest arena is thus far, that's an issue for me. So moving forward, Greater Sudbury Development Corp, we've all heard about it. I think that could be the hub of what we need to harness the energy of Sudbury. I just drove through North Bay today, and they have a great retail sector just booming over there. So what we need to do is look south, look east, look west, and look all across the country for different models and bring them here and be proud of what we have. We have a wonderful, diverse city, full of green spaces, full of other good issues, so we need to just harness that and market it properly. Thank you.
You're all remarkably disciplined. So we have a bit of extra time. Did anybody want to rebut to any of the answers or responses we received from any of the candidates? Don't have to accept that invitation. Okay, we'll move on to the second question. Based on the services that are currently provided, what are the strategies you would implement to increase the value of our tax dollar? Mr. Sizer? Do the other candidates permit Mr. Sizer to maybe introduce himself and do his opening so that we can get back into the swing of things? And then we can start the second question? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you and good evening. Council had me tied up for a little bit this evening before I was able to get here, but we dealt with the important stuff and now I'm here to talk to you about Ward 8. I'm Al Sizer. I've lived in the ward for some 25 years, born and raised in Sudbury. I started as a city employee in 1973 as a Zamboni driver and worked my way through the system into parks and leisure services. And while I was doing that, I had a good wife who had lots of support for me, and I went back to school part-time and finished my degree in political science, and then moved into the management end of the city with arenas, pools, ski hills, and my last 12 years with cemeteries. So I have a vast amount of knowledge with regards to the operations of City Hall. I'm not suggesting I know it all. We offer a breadth of services. But I'm married to my wife Simone for 40-some years and have 2 grown children and 1 granddaughter. Thank you.
So question number 2. Based on the services that are currently provided, what are the strategies you would implement to increase the value of our tax dollar? Monsieur Perra?
Okay, to increase the value of our tax dollars, I would first implement a new way of evaluating all city work. All work performed by the city should be broken down in man hours. We need to know how many hours it will take to do any job. Evaluating the work in man hours will give us a general idea of how long the project will take and how much it should cost. This tool will help us in keeping a close eye on any work being performed by contractors, employees, or city staff. This way of breaking down costs will help to stop the abuse. Number 2, changing the way our road construction is handled. Our specifications need to be brought up a notch, and we need a better way of monitoring our work. We need to have better inspectors that show up unannounced and take samples randomly. We need to find and or dismiss people that have deceitful behavior. And number 3, bring back the Auditor General and implement new rules and regulations that hold people accountable for their actions. This will ensure that we get our best bang for our buck. Thank you.
Merci. Mr. Presenza?
We're all dreading the tax increase for 2015 at a ridiculous 4.9%. With MPAC reassessing and increasing our property values, even with historic 3% property taxes, the city is seeing more and more revenue. Unfortunately, the residents are seeing less and less service, and this is unacceptable. We need to have improvements to infrastructure. This not only means better roads, but a longer-term plan to have a guarantee put into place by developers for the quality of construction. We need to upgrade drainage areas, since the culverts and the ditches currently in place leave swamp-like environments, which in addition to freezing over in the winter and causing more damage, attract mosquitoes in the fall and the potential to increase diseases such as West Nile. We need better snow plowing service. This was quite concerning to Ward 8 residents last winter. Not only were there delays in service, causing frustration to residents and health hazards to those with mobility challenges, but we had a particularly challenging year of flooding and flash freezing, causing potholes to develop into large craters as we literally felt like we were walking on the moon, along with Neil Armstrong. This is absolutely ridiculous. Above all, we need to become more efficient in business management and reduce waste. There's always much more room for improvement, and we can reduce unnecessary expenditures and procedures, and also ensure that we allow for greater competition on municipal projects. If elected to Ward 8, I vow to focus on fiscal responsibility as well as community development. Let's grow Sudbury to its greatest potential. Thank you.
Mr. Sizer?
This is a good question, and it's a tough question. And I'm not going to lead any of you on here in the room or think that you're naive enough to think that it's going to be an easy task in the next 4 years to reduce or maintain at least the tax level that we are at. In order to do that, we have to look at every aspect that we perform, every service that we provide in the city, and see if we are, as many have said, are we getting the best bang for our buck. The first place I would start in that is with contractors and the services they provide. Not necessarily road services, but even with our snow plowing on big snow events, their contractors are called out, and there are examples of abuse where they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing in the time required. So that's one of the places we're going to look at. For supplies and equipment, with that, our fleet purchases and equipment in offices and that kind of stuff, all has to be looked at and see if we can increase leases on equipment and keep them longer and working longer for us. Again, a big part, supplies is a big part of the city budget. Consultants, going along with contractors, we can reduce the use of consultants. I know there's been an effort to do so, but we can do better. And I would recommend that we eliminate those consultants at all costs. The other part, and I know we don't like to hear it, but we are part of a global economy. And to get the best bang for our buck, we need to increase our development here in the city. To increase that development, we have to actually walk the walk when we say we're open for business. In that respect, I will look towards forming a committee to enhance and attract new industry to come into our city. If we can do that, we can increase our tax dollar and we can lessen the burden on those homeowners that we have now. If we have good paying jobs that come into the city, we'll have people that can buy homes, can live here in the community, and they're not the call center or the $10 minimum wage jobs at some of the stores. So it will require a lot of fiscal responsibility, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough 4 years. Thank you.
Mr. Cullen?
Thank you. I just want to highlight for a second the work that I've done in the community with respect to responding to this answer. We talk about red tape, we talk about infrastructure, and I agree with everybody's points moving forward. What I was involved with early on when I was on the Chamber Board of Directors is the red tape task force, bringing the red tape issues of you in Ward 8 and beyond to the City Council table and to the City staff, respectively. So I was part of that process, and I understand what it's about. And talking to the citizens in the ward and going door to door, it's about the infrastructure. Yes, we talk about roads, we talk about everything else, but again, just reflecting, if I may, on personal experience, we talk about, let's just say arenas per se. We all know we lack space, we lack ice space, all that good stuff. But I was involved in these facilities in my career, and I have depth of knowledge. And when our good friend Fabio presented the arena issue last February, I believe, in front of City Council, I was part of that discussion with him because I've worked in those situations. And I know what it's like to walk and talk to these people and hear the issues of the playgrounds that are lacking proper facilities, the arenas, the ice time, and certain other issues in the ward. And one lady in particular pointed out a possibility of a partnership just the other night. And I was taken aback and thinking, you know what, this is possible. It's all possible to advance the work of Ward 8 with respect to proper infrastructure. And with respect to the broader city, if we look at the safety on the roads as an example, one ward is doing this, another ward is doing this. There needs to be a great consistency sort of outlined with the next term of council, otherwise we're going to lose another 4 years. And I hope that everybody agrees with that moving forward. So, me personally, listening to the citizens in your neighborhoods, it's about the upgrades that we need to service our children, our seniors, etc. So thank you.
Mr. Latham?
The strategies I would implement to increase the value of our tax dollars. There is a requirement to improve our established service standards at the city related to servicing the general public. This would include a review of all processes and procedures by council and the various departments. We need to balance our needs with our wants. In order to accomplish this, we need to hear from the frontline workers as to how we can work smarter to cut the duplication and waste. City employees need to have closer oversight over the work that is carried out by contractors. While canvassing door to door, I have heard that repairs to roads and water lines need to be completed properly and on time. Some of the examples I have been given is work completed by contractors is not being done correctly, and then you have city crews making the necessary repairs. Why is this allowed to happen? Should this work not be covered under some type of warranty? We need to solve the traffic gridlock in the city. An example of this is the current state of the Kingsway. We need to get serious about the timelines given to contractors and city employees to complete the work. Contractors should be doing the work in the evening to lessen the inconvenience to the public and businesses.
Thank you. The next question is, what is the most important issue you see in your ward? Monsieur Perra?
Okay, that's an easy one. I think the most important issue in my ward is the condition of our roads and the amount of heavy traffic. Everywhere I travel in my ward, I find fault in our roads, from the potholes to cut-up sections that were never properly fixed. I also see an escalating number of heavy trucks on the south that should be using other routes. The Maley Drive extension would solve most of our road issue by taking away heavy trucks that are one of the main reasons that damage our roads. Poor inspection and low-grade monitoring of previously resurfaced roads have also contributed to the state of our roads. We need to fix our road and the infrastructure below. Thank you.
Mr. Crescenzo?
As a proud resident of Ward 8, not only have I had the pleasure of knocking on countless doors, but I have had the honor of experiencing my neighbors' concerns. To limit to one issue would not be doing justice to residents. However, the biggest concerns that I hear about center around traffic. With delays in construction projects and mining trucks using our roads, there has been an increase in drivers using side streets as detours. I've heard endless stories of speeding and blowing through stop signs. The solution would be twofold. We must ensure the development of Maley Drive, which has been in the works for years now. It will be the newly elected Ward 8 councillors' responsibility to work with City Council and also Joe Cimino and Kathleen Wynne to ensure this gets done. There is no time for discussion. We need decisive leadership to ensure this project gets completed. We have to reroute traffic, save roads, and that will also create jobs in the area. We also need to enforce traffic laws. I propose to work with Sudbury Police to have routine speed checks at key intersections, including Lansing and Madison by Cyril Varney, Hawthorne, and other areas. Residents have shared with me, police cannot give breaks. They must enforce the laws so that people understand we place the highest priority and the highest value on our children and our schools. We must also restore a sense of community. We need park developments for kids, including splash pads, skate parks, cycling trails, and a commitment to Fabio Belli's idea of New Sudbury Days so that we can all feel proud to be part of New Sudbury. If elected as Ward 8 councillor, I vow to beautify our neighborhood and make it even more enjoyable for families, young and old. Thank you.
Mr. Sizer?
I think a little bit of everything has been touched on as in respect to Ward 8. But again, in going throughout the ward and talking to people, there's some definite aspects that have risen to the top. The biggest one is traffic, and to that end, as the same as Stefano, we have to push to complete Maley Drive. To get Maley Drive completed and get those ore trucks and heavy equipment off LaSalle Boulevard and rerouted along Maley Drive. I was talking to city staff and I asked them about the effect that one of those slurry trucks have on LaSalle Boulevard. And one of those slurry trucks is equivalent to running 10,000 cars, additional cars, across that roadway. So every slurry truck that goes by times the number is multiplied by 10,000. So you can see the damage that is being done on our infrastructure. The other one that came up in our ward that I was sort of surprised at, and I thought maybe it was just part of the ward, but it seems to be a recurring theme, is the maintenance of green space. It's a pretty established ward. There's not much room for new housing developments or subdivisions or industrial. Obviously not in the residential areas, but there is, of course, at the end of LaSalle. But the idea of keeping the green space and also encouraging the addition of more green space in the form of even passive parks. We have a good example off Gary Street with the Twin Forks facility being there, and just down the road is Rosemarie Playground. Both facilities are now being used. And eventually what I hope was that it will all be concentrated into one facility, and I can say probably Twin Forks because it has the most amenities there. But instead of putting that property up for sale or getting rid of that property in some other means, selling it for subdivision, I'd like to see that Rosemary Clear area developed as a green park, a passive space, so that people can go and sit and reflect in that area type of thing. The last one that is the community engagement. I see a flag. How much does that give? How long does that give me? Am I done? No. I'm done. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen?
Thank you, folks. Surprisingly, you may not sound surprised, but be surprised, but the number one issue that I'm hearing door to door, who's going to be the next mayor? Everybody asks that question. I don't know if you guys get it, but I get it all the time. So respectfully, I answer to the best of my ability. Number one, safer roads. Safer roads. And I'm glad Al mentioned community engagement with respect to people don't know where to bring ideas. People have ambitions and ideas. And something that I pledged earlier on, and this may seem a little self-serving here, but the CAN effort in the ward is a critical connection to everybody in here and the needs and wishes of Ward 8. I do this for a living. This is what I live and breathe, bringing people together. And I pledge within 1 year we will have a CAN office open so that we can harness the energy of the CAN to bring the safer roads to fruition, to bring the parks that Al spoke about, to make things happen, to take Rosemary Playground and bring a corporate partnership in there and revive it. It's almost criminal that we walk down that road and we see that graffiti on that shack and what it used to be. To me, that is about the passion that I bring here. So the number one issue is safer roads. I've even changed my sign to reflect that on Barry Down. Hopefully you've all seen it. But safer roads to me is critical, and it may seem silly at this point in juncture, but cleanliness is critical. And this Saturday, I'm going to grab hopefully a few of you in this room, and we're going to clean up Ward 8, because to me that's community pride, and that is very significant. Although very small, it's very significant. So again, safer roads, who's going to be our next mayor is the number one question. Thank you.
Mr. Latham?
The most important issues I see in Ward 8. Seniors and young families are concerned about the increased property tax, water and sewer rates. People are struggling due to these increases and the general cost of living like groceries. These costs are resulting in the erosion of the middle class. All of these factors are impacting on the ability of people to be able to stay in their own homes. Second point, the lack of oversight by city employees concerning road maintenance, infrastructure projects, ditching, and snow removal in Ward 8 is a concern. In going to some of the houses, people are saying, depending which area, that they feel like they're the forgotten ward. The next point, which is close to home to me, and it affects a number of areas in Ward 8. I live in off of Hudson on Brookfield Avenue. I've talked to people in the San Francisco area, and I've talked to some people in the Overbrook area, but it's a major concern. And that is bears in our neighborhoods and the lack of a proactive response from the Ministry of Natural Resources and the local police is a concern. This is unacceptable as it impacts residents' sense of well-being, and it is a serious health and safety issue. People are feeling they're being held hostage in their own homes when they're told that they shouldn't be barbecuing or feeding birds and whatnot. It is serious, and someday somebody is going to get seriously hurt, or somebody is going to take action, and somebody will be seriously hurt again. Okay, thank you.
Given the proposed 4.9% increase in taxes for the coming year, what actions would you suggest be taken? Mr. Presenza.
The 2015 property tax increase is absolutely staggering at 4.9%. So much so that in speaking to next year's retirees, many of them are planning to leave Sudbury for more affordable places like North Bay, Elliott Lake, and Sturgeon Falls. Not only have we been unable to effectively keep our youth in the area, but now we are at risk of losing our senior residents as well. This is unacceptable. We must immediately review the budget with a goal in reducing it and through increasing efficiency and reducing waste. We have a responsibility to keep taxes from spiraling out of control. In keeping taxes low, as Mr. Perez said, we must then increase our tax base through new developments. This means that we must partner together with developers, ensuring strong communication so that the needs of all parties are met to ensure that the neighborhoods continue to grow. Furthermore, we need to look at possible greater resource revenue sharing from the provincial and federal government. The revenue return to Sudbury is down 25% down to 6.5%, while federal revenue has increased a whopping 109% and provincial revenue by 77%. It sounds like the fat cats are getting a little fatter in Ottawa from the mining developments right here in our own town. Again, this is unacceptable. Great improvements can be made at the city staff level as well. We must encourage a tone of top-notch customer service and teamwork from the city to the residents. City councillors must take on a leadership role to develop pride in city workers. We must also ensure that efficiency strategies are implemented and consistent across all departments, like bulk buying to save money, streamlining services, and ensuring all services are offered online across all departments. If elected, I will work hard to make this happen. Thank you.
Mr. Sizer?
4.9% and 4.9% increase in city taxes is unacceptable. It will not happen if I'm elected to council and representing Ward 8. When I was on staff, when we went through budget deliberations, when we're talking about how we're going to reduce that 4.9% increase, when I was on staff during budget time, and some of these were during the Jim Gordon years, staff would bring us back a budget, or we would have to present a budget to council that presented three options for them. One of the options was a decrease in the tax level. So if we were looking at a 2% increase in taxes, then I want to see what a -1% increase, tell me what effect that would have on our services. What can we do and what can we do without if we reduce that? Then we go to our 0%, where we bring in exactly where we're at now and how we're going to find those savings, bearing in mind that we have to deal with the cost of living just like everybody else does. When a liter of gas goes up 3 cents a liter, just think of the number of city vehicles on the road, from buses to trucks and fire trucks, and what that means to our budgetary process. And the third part of that process is then to have an enhanced budget, where if you increase the taxes by 3% or 4%, here's what we are prepared to do, or here's what we can do for the city. What happens with that type of a scenario is we are able to move dollars around to different areas and keep that tax level down. The other thing is an auditor general, to make sure that things are going well and that what we say we're doing is being done properly. And the final is whistleblower protection, but not with hiring. The whistleblower protection being that staff can go and talk to somebody when things are going awry in our processes. But that's not hiring. I do not want to hire additional staff people to do that. We need to work, it's in through the Auditor General's office that is available to the staff. Thank you.
Mr. Cullen?
Thank you, Joe. With my role as Executive Director of United Way, Sudbury and Nipissing Districts, I live and breathe transparency. I have 5,000 donors or constituents, if you will, within the United Way movement. We have auditors, we have a board of directors, and we have accountability measures by the page load, so that we can report back to you on your return on investment. Everybody's on the same page here. But again, when you go door to door, it's about the taxpayer return on investment that I'm hearing, and everyone's hearing in this room. It's the infrastructure which is lacking, it's the return on investment, and people need to feel valued. And our infrastructure is broken, as we know. We have a great supply of services, such as arenas, homes for the aged. We have facilities we could possibly perhaps look at the business model of the city of Greater Sudbury and perhaps take a look at these models. And maybe we shouldn't be in the arena business. Maybe we shouldn't be in the healthcare business. So the business model is broken, in my opinion. I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you this. You know, there's talk of an integrity commissioner, there's talk of auditor general, there's talk of all these transparency measures. Absolutely, bring it on. I'm all for it. I live and breathe that every day. So, with respect to the 4.9% increase, it's about proper return on investment, and that to me is what people are lacking. Thank you.
Mr. Latham?
The action I would take regarding the proposed tax increase of 4.9% is the following. This increase should not be approved or even considered. The newly elected council should send this budget back with clear direction that the ceiling for budget increases is to be within 1% of the inflation rate. To accomplish this, all department budgets are frozen at last year's level. Departments would present balanced budgets and budget requirements on this basis, advising what they can do and no longer do, what they can and can no longer do. The next stage of the budget process we would call resourcing our priorities, and either council or a finance committee would take into consideration health and safety issues, preventative maintenance, quality of life issues, and allocate additional resources, if need be, to the various departments. The process is aimed at keeping tax increases at 1% of inflation. Thank you.
Mr. Perrin?
Okay, I guess this is a consensus. I don't think we need another tax increase, for sure. Money can be found by better planning and implementing new and innovative ways of controlling costs and revenues, as I mentioned earlier. I think that Mr. Melançon's idea of financing our infrastructure debt with bonds is a good one. This way we would keep our cash flow and get the work done right. That's it for me.
The budget issue appears to be a popular one, and with the mayors as well. And there seems to be some agreement between the candidates that the 4.9 is high. Do any of you have any different views in terms of a rebuttal on how you would get to a lower amount?
From here?
Yes.
Yeah, well, again, like I say, I think that staff should be given that direction. I was at a meeting the other day, and a staff person said, well, I haven't been given that mandate to look for savings. Well, that's inherent in your job. That's what you're there to do. So that kind of, and I'm not, staff are good, don't get me wrong. That was just one comment, and but that's the kind of thing. They have to go back and they have to present options to us. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a wastewater guy. I don't know how to treat the water. So we have to depend on that staff to have the expertise and to bring the things back to us. So they should be able to provide us with options and tell us exactly what the consequences are of those budget options.
Thank you. Any of the other councillors or candidates?
I think, if I may, I think you have to look at all of us as a respective bunch, but it's not about what we're going to promise to do or what we're pledging to do, it's about what we've done. And I think that's critical in this debate and all our presentations. Living and breathing transparency every day is, I think, a very necessary skill set. And I agree with Al's points, but I disagree to the point where we need to bring our expertise to the table and we need to bring in concert with the city staff, and not just delegating or perhaps assigning. It's our duty to have that business sense, to live and breathe your pain as a taxpayer and bring it to the forefront of the issues and work together. Collaborative energy is the only way this is going to happen.
Yeah, maybe just quickly on that point, one of the experiences that we've had over the last 4 years is a recognition that decisions and direction is only realized if the councillors can work together. You're here campaigning against each other, but do you have any specific views on how you can work with your colleagues at the council table to realize some of the savings that you think you need to have a budget that's palatable?
I hope I'm not the only one, but upon this process of this election a few months back, I've actually gone to other councillors, and there's a few in this room that I've talked to, and I've reached out to, and I said, you know what, win or lose, we've got to start this off right. We've got to get to know one another, and you may recall in the media, I put it out as soon as I announced, and it may seem funny, but I actually put a call out to everyone that's running this election. We're about to form the most significant board of directors in the city's history. And I put a call out for all of us to get together, to get to know one another. And a few responded, but to me, this is our critical juncture here. And the least we can do is get to know one another moving into this. And I've done that.
Mr. Cosenza?
I was just going to add that in my closing statements, but I'd just like to add that I've been working hard to get to know all of the candidates across all of the wards. In fact, right from the get-go from this campaign, I was the first candidate to issue the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge to all the Sudbury candidates. This is a fun and informal way to raise money for a great cause and promote teamwork. The old city council has not worked as a team. We've seen that, and we definitely need teamwork moving forward. And we also need decisive leadership. We can't just rely on staff to come up with solutions. We have to think, we have to work together and come up with our own solutions and guide staff. I'm not saying we have to dictate, but we have to guide and work together with staff and encourage them to share their ideas. Thank you.
Quickly, Mr. Sizer?
All I've got to say is whoever is elected mayor and whoever are elected as councillors, when I am elected, I will work with that mayor and I will work with those councillors. And if I have to lead, if I have to be an intermediary, if I have to control, I will. We have to be not only mayor and council, senior management, and all of our city staff have to pull in the same way, and we'll accomplish that. I look forward to a dynamic council. Thank you.
Mr. Latham, you look like you're about to break out in song.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what everybody's saying here, and myself, I really don't know what happened with this past council. Obviously, there seem to be problems working together. I don't know if it was, I just don't know what happened. But the fact remains, when you are elected to council and you're entrusted by the people that vote you in, you have a job to do, and you must do that job regardless of what you think of whoever. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our last question is, why should citizens of your ward elect you? It's your sort of last opportunity before we harvest some of the questions from the floor and take a short break to sort of leave a lasting impression with the people in the room as to what makes you different and what the sort of key points are that people should consider when they're making their decision. Mr. Presenza.
I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. Up to this point, you've gotten to know a little bit more about who I am, what my platform is, and where I stand on relevant issues. Let me share what I've been up to since day one of my campaign. As I mentioned earlier, I was the first candidate to issue that ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Again, it was a fun and informal way to raise money for a great cause and promote teamwork across all the wards with all the candidates. I even got to know some of the mayoral candidates that way too. When we talk about accountability, integrity, and transparency, I am the only candidate in Ward 8 to host a video blog sessions directly on my website, where I answer all of your questions so that you know where I stand. My blogging platform also allows all of you the chance to interact with each other and is directly linked to Facebook and Twitter accounts for immediate access. Feel free to visit it at stefano-ward8.com. I have also showed tremendous commitment to improving Sudbury transit since I launched the campaign. So much so that I was the only candidate in Ward 8 to accept and fully complete the transit challenge by the Coalition for a Livable Sudbury to take the bus on a Sunday from home, meet everyone downtown, and take the bus back home. It was a refresher of improvements to bus service since my Laurentian days, and a reminder of what can be improved for those who rely on city transportation. This October, I ask you to vote for an out-of-the-box thinker, a strong team player, and a proud resident of Ward 8. Grazie, merci.
Mr. Sizer?
This may be one time where I'm glad to have a little bit of gray hair. I'm one of the, I think the oldest candidate, but with that comes the experience and being both a city employee and working along with staff. I've been with the city for 37 years. I know who to speak to. I know the ins and outs of the staff and who to go to. I have a wealth of experience, and I'm prepared to work with council regardless of who is there. The last and final thing that is important is I am retired and I am there to work for you. I'm home 40 hours a week and will take the calls and work for you as a representative of Ward 8. Thank you.
Mr. Cullen?
Thank you, Claude. One thing that we all must remember is that the position of acting on your behalf at City Council table is an incredible responsibility. I would ask all of you to take the conversation beyond the door-to-door, visit the campaign brochure, or the many lawn signs that we all see in our day-to-day travel. I have a proven track record of accomplishments, a passion for serving others, a skill set that brings groups together, and a candidate who understands transparency, and again, lives and breathes transparency, and how it can affect our community outcomes. This, ladies and gentlemen, are just a few key ingredients that I offer for the position of your City Council representative for Ward 8. Leading by example is the only way Ward 8 and our city can look to the future. Leading by example, in my opinion, means having a thorough understanding of the ward and broader city issues. I ask any one of my candidates if they have in fact reviewed the many quality reports that have been developed for our ward specific and citywide. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all on the same page presenting our platforms to you. I like to think that I have a platform of successes, of ambitious projects, of projects that even some other candidates not here in the room tonight are even talking about as they campaign. I live and breathe this city, this ward, this duty to you. Together we can make this happen. Thank you.
Mr. Latham?
The reasons citizens of my ward should elect me are as follows. As I have explained, I have over 30 years of work experience with the federal government, Aboriginal Affairs, Northern Development Canada. This has given me the exposure to deal with major capital projects, maintenance type activities, working with a variety of funding agencies. I'm familiar with budgetary and financial related processes. Over the years, I have acquired extensive experience in dealing with issues and concerns from the public, private sector, entrepreneurs, First Nations, municipalities, and various government agencies. In the majority of these cases, I have been able to resolve disputes, disagreements in order to move forward. I believe in transparency in the public service and the importance of service standards. I have always been hardworking, honest, and willing to listen. The fact that I've spent over 30 years with Aboriginal Affairs in Northern Development Canada and have sat at many council meetings and the First Nations could be an advantage to the city concerning issues around the Ring of Fire. I've been retired since December 2012 and have the time, energy, and experience to serve the citizens of Ward 8 and the greater city of Sudbury. I am a resident of Ward 8 and your neighbor. In closing, I would like to help make a difference in the lives of the citizens of Ward 8 and the city of Greater Sudbury. So on October 27th, remember to vote for Carrie Latham as your choice for change. Thank you.
Monsieur Perrin?
I should be elected because I'm the best man for the job. I am a man of action. I know how to get things done. Being in business all my life has taught me how to get the most out of people and materials. I have extensive knowledge in estimating and evaluating, which is a very important part of this job. I'm not afraid to stand up for what I believe in. I'm a very logical person and can find solutions where others cannot. I'm honest, trustworthy, transparent, and dependable. I'm punctual and persistent, but mostly very hardworking. I have very high work ethics and don't mind burning the midnight oil. I'm well versed and love challenges. I am educated and have been a leader all my life. I'm not afraid to ask for questions and state my opinion. I will not be a yes guy and agree with everything. I will proudly serve you with integrity and honesty if I'm elected. Thank you.
So I think we're going to take a short break at this point, and the members of the Greater Sudbury Taxpayers Association will have an opportunity to vet the questions. 10 minutes? Is that okay?